class and kids. I'm Kurt Reiger, head of high caliper growing, Smartpots. We're a manufacturer here in Oklahoma City, and I'm here to tell you about a little bit about science, the science of growing, and the science of growing plants in containers. And we are actually a container manufacturer located here in Oklahoma City, and we make specialty containers for plant growers. And I'll tell you, how and why we do it, and basically what we do. The first thing is, of course, this is a plastic pot. This is what most people grow in, and when you're doing science projects or doing any kind of projects, everyone always wants you to grow in a plastic pot. We have come up with various other ideas for growing that we consider infinitely superior to a plastic pot, and that's why we're able to stay in business and people like us, Anyway, in a plastic pot, the nice thing about plastic pots is that they're cheap. And the bad thing about them is that they actually are cheap. They break, they don't work very well. But when you put a plant in a plastic pot, what happens to the root structure? Well, it starts to circle around and around in that plastic pot. When you put a plant out in the ground, of course, the roots grow out and out, and the plant does okay. But in a plastic pot, it's going to circle around and around. It's not a very healthy root structure for the plant. One thing is, I'm sure you are currently learning in Mr. Ryder's class, is that roots uptake moisture and nutrients at the tip of the roots. They are apically dominated, meaning they grow at the apex or the tip of the root structure. Therefore, when a root comes out, it's only able to uptake moisture and nutrients from that tip. In a plastic pot, the root starts to circle around and around and around. So you'll have one or two or three roots that just go around and around, and they mat up there. And eventually it gets to be a long, long ways for moisture and nutrients to travel back around that root and back up to the plant. So you have, consequently, not a very good plant. What we do here, and why we've been able to maintain a business, and how we try to innovate and make things a little bit better, is we manufacture and make a fabric container that actually it's a fabric. It's like the shirt that you're wearing. It's a fabric. So therefore, when roots hit this fabric, instead of circling around, they actually bind into the fabric and hold, and that induces, so instead of circling, that induces a slight drying. The plant tip loses its apical dominance and starts to branch and fiber inside the bag, so you have a root structure that actually fills the entire area of the container, as opposed to, in a plastic pot, a root structure that circles around and around. Another benefit to fabric is that it releases heat, just like your shirt. When you get up in the morning, you don't put on a big heavy raincoat of plastic and zip it up. You would swelter. Well, this is essentially a heavy raincoat. It swelters. In the sun, plastic gets really, really hot. It's not good for growing. Fabric, on the other hand, releases heat, and heat release gives you better temperatures inside in the fabric, in the container, so you have better ability to grow. The plant's top is always going to equal the roots. There's no such thing as a great top with a bad root structure. Or a bad root structure is going to give you a bad top. If you can do something to give yourself a great root structure on the bottom, the top is going to be excellent as well.